this is bamboo. Government removed the bamboo from the categorization of a tree in non-forest areas. Here you see, critically examine whether the exemption of bamboo grown in non-forest areas from the definition of a tree will lead to the increase in the income of farmers. Here we learnt this news report in Press Information Bureau. Center promulgated Indian Forest Amendment Ordinance 2017 to encourage bamboo cultivation in non-forest areas. Here, this exempted bamboo grown in non-forest areas from the definition of tree. Forget the forest areas. Let us think about non-forest areas. Previously, that means prior to this ordinance, for cutting of the tree and for selling this, every time you require the permission because it was covered as a tree under the Indian Forest Act. So, prior to this ordinance, that means since 1927, for the past 90 years, here felling and transit of bamboo, that means cutting the bamboo, you have 10 acres of land, you have grown bamboo, cutting that bamboo and taking to the market, that requires the permissions and that attracted the provisions of Indian Forest Act 1927 previously. But now, this felling and transit of bamboo grown on this non-forest areas. I am talking about, you forget about forests. In the non-forest areas, from now onwards, cutting of this tree and selling of this tree in the non-forest areas, that does not require anybody's permission. So, as per the government, the major impediment for bamboo cultivation by the farmers in non-forest land is removed. If I have 10 acres of land, if I want to cultivate bamboo, then I can do whatever I want to do, right? I don't require any permission, right? This is about non-forest lands and bamboo trees. And when you are talking about bamboo, panda of China that predominantly grows in bamboo forest, don't forget. Then, what was the origin of this issue? British misdefined appropriate people's resources. In fact, this definition of a tree in the non-forest areas as well as forest areas, actually, taxonomically speaking, this bamboo is grass. So, but it was classified as tree by the British only to appropriate the people's resources. So, they included bamboo under trees, felled trees under timber, timber in forest produce. So, whether it is grown in forest areas or non-forest areas, British have in fact included bamboo under trees, and all these things are included by the British. That means they established the control of the British government on all tree and bamboo growth. So, on the growth of bamboo, you can say, so on the growth of bamboo, they established controls. So, because of that legislation of 1927, felling, sale and transport of any of these species, whichever are categorized under Forest Act of 1927, require the permission of the state. So, post-independent India continued this policy, right? And government's version of advantages. Why this bamboo is used? Where this bamboo is used, you can say, this bamboo is used as raw material to the traditional craftsmen of rural India and bamboo-based paper and pulp industries. It is used in paper and pulp industries, cottage industries. Bamboo is also used in furniture making. It is also used in the making of fabrics, and incense sticks making also this bamboo is used. So, bamboo is used for all these things. Government says because of this change, removing the tree classification in non-forest areas through an ordinance, now farmers can freely grow this. Here it will increase the income of farmers. It will also increase the green cover of the country. The legal and regulatory hardships faced by the farmers and private individuals are removed, and it will create a viable option for cultivation in 12.6 million hectares of cultivable wasteland. Not only that, it will encourage farmers to take up block plantation of suitable bamboo species in the degraded land. So, this is the government version of advantages, right? But the author says it is not that easy. It is not that simple as stated by the central government. Several constraints in restoring the people's rights. The author says 3 constraints. One is states have their own laws. If you look at government of Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh government, like that, they have their own laws. So, states passed their own forest rules and acts. Karnataka regulates tree felling outside the forest areas. Madhya Pradesh regulates movement of the forest produce, and these define forest produce and trees which include bamboo. So, amending the Forest Act, Indian Forest Act 1927 does not affect these state laws, and the state laws are to be modified accordingly urgently. The second one is the amendment applies only to bamboo in non-forest areas. You see, a farmer has grown bamboo and he cut it and he is taking for selling, and how to differentiate whether this bamboo is cut in his own field or whether it is illegally taken from the adjacent forest. It is very difficult to differentiate, and the forest guards at the checkposts may harass the farmers. Here you see how the forest checkposts identify from where a particular truckload of bamboo is coming from. Here, trucks from the private lands will need transit passes, which means that forest officials will monitor the operation. You see, they are now applicable in forest areas. The Forest Act laws are not applicable in non-forest areas. So, I am growing 10 acres, I am cutting it, I am selling it, and I am taking to the market. At that time, some forest guard can come and harass me that I have taken it from the forest illegally. So, they cannot be much different from the present situation. Forest guards harassment may still continue because this is the, in fact, this is prohibited from forest areas. Then community forest lands. If you look at northeastern part of the country, community forestry is quite common. What is community forestry? Community forestry is, in fact, forest management and the land use decision by themselves. So, here the people themselves will act as change agents. So, people will participate and people will manage the forests and they will act as the change agents. So, that is community forestry, and community forestry is quite prevalent in the northeastern part of the country. Here, it deregulates only privately grown bamboo. Here, bulk of the bamboo is grown in the forest lands, but forest lands is the term. Technically speaking, forest lands include community forest lands in northeastern part of the country. As per the Supreme Court's Godavarman judgment, the harvest from the community forests is regulated by the forest department. So, most of the bamboo is grown in the community forests of northeastern part of the country, and the community forests technically comes under the forests. So, how the farmers will benefit because of this legislation or because of this ordinance? Then, if you take the Maharashtra example, in fact, Maharashtra government amended and excluded bamboo and tendu leaves. Please look into this. This is Maharashtra government, tendu leaves as well as bamboo from the state control, and this facilitated mini revolution in the forest based livelihoods in the eastern part of Maharashtra. So the urgent need of the hour is these inconsistencies must be removed. Right? So the removal of obstacles to the exercise of community rights will open up an alternative form of forestry managed and regulated by the communities. So this is all about the pros and cons of this bamboo forest. Right, friends? Let us conclude here. Please do join tomorrow. Have a nice day. Thank you.